Hi, and welcome to Two CPAs The Mic, the podcast where we talk tax, finance, and all things related to business. Whether you're a business owner, working professional, or someone who wants to start a career in accounting, this is the podcast for you. Hosted by CCK Strategies partners Jeff Frable and Sarah Mays, we dive into relevant business and tax matters with working professionals to make these topics less intimidating, relatable, and dare we say fun? Let's get down to business.
Welcome to this week's episode of Two CPAs The Mic. We are so glad you joined us this week. We are covering relevant business and tax topics, but doing so by applying straight talk and practical information without all the jargon and stuffiness that normally is associated with our profession. We really want to connect with you, whether you're a seasoned business professional or new to the business world. We just want to be real people and talk about some interesting things. And we are back for season 2, and this is real episode 1. I am Jeff Frable, partner at CCK Strategies. And as always is my amazing co-host, Sarah Mays. What's up, Mays?
Hey, Frable. Hey, guys. I am Sarah Mays. I, too, am a partner here at CCK, and I am stoked for season 2. Just stoked.
Season 2 is going to be good because not only are you here, but so is Christy Porter. Hi, Christy.
Hey,
good morning.
Hi. Hello, Sarah and Jeff. It's a great new day.
Our true branding voice, yes, producer on air extraordinaire. So great for you to be back for season 2 as well. Christy, Sarah, I'm going to give our dozens of listeners some insight into what makes the sausage.
Yes.
This episode is going to be so great because we have tried twice to record it online and we've had problems, and we are finally doing it today.
Yes.
And our listeners need to know that we're coming in real episode 1 of season 2. We're coming in hot on this one. We have got an amazing guest today. If you are strapping on your shoes to go for a run or go for a walk, you are in for a treat. We're going to be talking about branding and marketing, and we're also going to be talking about the future of this industry, as well as wonderful tips about leadership and team development. And we're doing so with a business owner who not only has a national footprint, but he has amazing insight. He's a business owner of 20, 22, 24 years. He drops knowledge nuggets all over the place. And he's just a nice guy. And you know what's great about this episode, Sarah, is we're talking branding and marketing, which to you and I is kind of foreign. I mean, we are CPAs. We work in that world, but we work in it from a tax and business perspective. But this guy's out there, don't you think?
Yeah, he is. I am super excited about this one. And I may start, you said fanboying, I may start fangirl. And just super excited to hear all of the
fangirling
bombs.
Huh? All right.
Fangirling, yes. Because you said you were fanboying, so I'm going to fangirl.
Let's do that introduction. We have on the podcast today, Johnie Hampton. Johnie is the founder and owner of Hampton Creative. And Johnie, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, good morning. Good to see you, all of you this morning. Christy, Sarah, Jeff. Honored to be on here today. And now I feel a lot of pressure to deliver gold bombs. So
That's right. That's right. Well, Johnie, as we get started into some of this, the industry and everything, your expertise, why don't you just tell us a little bit about who is Johnie Hampton and what is Hampton Creative and what are you doing these days?
I thought I'd start with that song, Who's Johnny? Because I've been sung that most of my life from
I love that song.
Karate Kid, you know?
Yes.
They came out in high school and I got sung that all the time. And finally a song about me that would also not be, hey, little Johnny got in trouble for this or little Johnny that, because that gets you a lot as well. So anyway,
can I tell you something, Johnie, real quick? And this is just hitting our 80s era beautifully. I'm the 80s guy. Sarah's the 90s girl. But to this day, when I hear that song on the radio, and our listeners obviously can't see this, but there was a neck move that was it Al DeBarge did, where they went, "Who's Johnny?" And he kind of flipped his head. And every time I listen to that song, I do that head flip. So great reference there.
That's
all right,
so
Johnie.
Great. Well, I grew up in Arkansas. I grew up in a small rural town there, and always had big dreams of doing big stuff. Had no idea that it would take me to the booming metropolis of Tulsa, Oklahoma, coming from a small farming community of 328 people. I was really grateful to be here. Came here to go to Oral Roberts, had big dreams. And as it's been said there before, I didn't want to make small plans. We wanted to make big plans when I went there. And so I got my degree there in business and also design, started Hampton Creative in 2002. We've been going strong now this is our 24th year. And it's been a great, great run. We've learned a lot. We made a lot of connections in this city, but also all over the country and even some overseas. So it's been a great run, really, really great run. And we're grateful to be still on the map because agencies come and go a lot. And we're happy to still be here.
Well, you're doing a great work. And I know we have already connected on this episode as far as eras and where we come from. But
sure,
I think I mentioned this to you before. There's two aspects of your life and my life that kind of run parallel to each other. One is, my understanding is that you were at ORU from 87 to 91. And while I was not at ORU, I was at Southwestern at the same time. So, and then the other thing is, I think you were working for someone for about 6, 7, 8 years before you started Hampton Creative. And that's about the time frame that I was with another firm. And then I made a big step of faith to move to CCK, which is probably similar to what you did with Hampton Creative. Can you talk for just a minute about what that step of faith was like and what made you do that step of faith?
Yeah, I think there's something obviously very biblical about serving someone else before you start your own thing. And so I learned for 7 years under a really, really great man. And it taught me a lot about how to treat people. But the company at the time I was working for decided that they didn't want to do the work that we were doing, which was agency work, which was clients and design and those kinds of things. So he came to me one day and said, "Hey, we're going to go a different direction. If you want to take these clients with you, feel free to do that. Give us, pay us a commission for the year, and then the clients are yours." So it wasn't like I came from a family of entrepreneurs where I just said, "Hey, one day I'm going to own all these businesses." I never wanted to get out of the boat, but sometimes God has a way of kind of nudging you into new things. And I was kind of kicked out in a very, very healthy way. And I loved it. The first few years were rough, but what I loved is the freedom of being able to run a business and have my own employees, be able to make decisions who I wanted to work with and did not want to work with. And it was a joy all along. That was a joy. Difficult at times, and the excitement of being on the high seas and in your own boat is pretty exciting.
Absolutely. Well, before we get into talking about exactly what you do, Johnie, brag about yourself a little bit. You all have won some awards nationally. Kind of talk a little bit about your success in the marketplace.
We started out as a design firm, and now we're a full-fledged agency. So we do we do web and marketing digital strategy, lots and lots and lots of designs. But it was not exactly how I thought this would go. Cool thing is that you are diligent in an area and you continue to be diligent in the area and you continue to put time into those things. They eventually prove, if you stay in the game long enough, you end up getting some recognition. And that's what's been really great. And we typically don't look at recognition as like, oh, we're so great, because we feel like we're in this world. And I'm sure you guys feel the same way. We're always learning. But every once in a while, there's a time out where someone says, "Hey, your work has been noted by someone in the city you don't even know, and in an organization you don't even know." But in the last few years, we've won several USA Today top 10 attractions in the United States. USA Today came out with their top 10 parks in the country, and we have work in 4 of those parks, which has been really, really cool. So that, and then a lot of our brand work has been featured in Logo Lounge, which is the international world's best of the best brands. So if you thumb through that book, there's thousands, there's probably hundreds of brands in there. And we've been published almost every year in that. So, those kinds of things are really nice. Addies, we have a lot of Addies throughout the years. And I love to enter those just because I like for our clients to see that their work matters and their work is contending well in the marketplace. That's really important for us.
Well, congratulations to you. And all your teammates. I do have one quick question about, you talked about working in the theme parks. And I've heard you say in other interviews that you are a master people watcher. And so what do you do? I mean, when you go to a park with the kids, and your kids are older now, Are you working? Are you with the family? Are you always,
No,
what's going on there?
my family laughs at me because I'm a big type aficionado. So I'm watching type everywhere we go. I'm watching traffic patterns. I'm watching offerings. I'm watching signs. I'm watching people movement. That's really important for us because we always know that design is a solve to a problem. So everything we design, it's usually a solution we're looking for when we design something. But that's always, for years we went to Disney, years and years and years. I mean, from the time that I think 6 months old, we had one of our kids in theme park, and I kept saying, "Why in the world are we going to all these theme parks?" And look, I mean, I enjoy it. My kids probably won't remember it at this age, but I realized that God had me on a pathway to learn things that were kind of something I dropped in my backpack to be able to use later in my career. Man, did he ever! When we were sitting at the office in SeaWorld, which we worked with them for a long time, there were context I had for things like bathrooms, like to say, you know what, no one knows. I've got kids. I'm always looking for where's the closest restroom so I can get my kids there and change diapers. I was like, there's no signage for this. So those were things I learned. Restaurants, like how long will it take me if I go into their restaurant when I'm trying to go see Shamu? Do I have enough time to do that? So I learned a lot in that. And I didn't know that those were the things I was learning, but I was picking up on a lot of those things that later came in to be really, really handy.
Well, I'll say this, Johnie, if you need a special consultant on Disney World, I'm available.
Just your dude, yes.
I'm going to be down there this weekend. So,
for sure. I love it.
What a fun aspect. So let's get into some of the meat and start talking about branding and storytelling. And now everyone that listens is not a marketing expert. So can you just kind of talk us through marketing? What qualifies for marketing? What's branding, and what's the difference between the two?
All right, Johnie, I am not anything in the world of marketing. So as a non-marketer, what is just the best way to explain that to me and to our listeners?
Sure. Yeah. Marketing's pretty simple in that it's taking whatever message, whatever your unique selling proposition is as a company, and getting it in front of the people who need to make the decision whether or not they want to use your services. So that's often a process because we've got to find out, first of all, what message are you trying to say and how are you different than another organization? What is unique to you? And then the second question we ask is, well, where is that audience? So we have to define the audience, find the audience, and then in the middle of this is creating messages that will that audience will identify with and say, okay, I'd like to select this one over that one because of a message that was presented to me in such a way that A, I understood it, and B, I wanted to respond to it.
Right.
It's a pretty summarized answer there.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. Pretty simple.
We live in it every day. So it's our everyday here at Hampton, and something that there are changing. And the thing about marketing that's so amazing is that when I started the company, we had very few marketing channels. So you were billboards and you were radio and you were TV. Now you've got TikTok and you've got LinkedIn and you've got digital ads and Google ads. I mean, there are so many more avenues to reach our audiences in their hand because most of the marketing goes right to their hand. And so that's what's been really amazing about this, but always trying to find new avenues to tell the story.
So Johnie, in our industry, when we meet with a new business, the general question that gets asked is, how should I structure from a tax perspective? And we get into discussions, especially if it's like a solopreneur of some kind. We're like, well, should we start an entity? Should we structure a certain way? And sometimes the end result is, well, let's grow into this structure. If I'm a brand new business with a brand new idea, how does that process work from a marketing and branding perspective? What kind of conversations do you have with that type of person?
Well, we have a saying here that you can't tell a story that you don't know. So for us, we start out with being really good listeners. We try to find out goals. So some of our companies are new, and that's great. We always start with a good brand because we always say it's the foundation. And the brand is not just a logo, it's all the surrounding messaging that goes with that. So if I say to you, what do you think about Nike? You initially probably see the swoosh, but your mind is encompassed with sweat and grit and clothing and athleticism and NBA sports stars. It has so many more things around it. So you can get really complicated with that, but we typically come real back to something really simple and say, what is it that you offer? Let's own that. Let's make that really clear what you offer. And then let's work on the simplicities of like we said earlier, your audience. Who is your audience? Who are you trying to reach? And some clients come to us and they're kind of in a 911 situation of saying, I'm in trouble. I've got to figure out how to get sales up. That's 911 marketing. It's dangerous, but we think of an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. I'd rather build a brand slowly and begin to really own what I do before I run out and say that I'm the best at everything. So we can't be the best at everything, but we really can focus on one thing and do that really, really, really well. And so we try to coach our clients in that of understanding their story, understanding what their goals are, even if it's a 3-month goal, 6-month goal, year goal. Let's take the elephant a bite at a time and walk together in that. We're real big on partnership. We're real big on asking questions. We thought we heard you say this. This is what, like, are you okay to move into this area, whatever it is, but we walk together. So it's also being an authority and being a professional, but also clients do oftentimes make their own decisions. And so, my answer usually is, well, in my professional opinion, this is what's the best way to go with this. And if they don't take that, it's okay. We're not always right either. It's true. But what happens is oftentimes more than not, when the mistake is made or they don't follow advice, then they come back later and say, okay, we're sorry, we messed that up. Let's try that again. So that's the part of the partnership that we love so much is people are people. And they, as you run a business, you understand there are a lot of things that affect people's outlook. There are a lot of things that affect their decision-making. And so we have to be here to be a pro in this and help them get from point A to point, whatever it is, the point they're trying to get to.
Gosh, Sarah and Jeff, that Johnie just said a few things that resonated with how I know you both. The challenging questions you hear from, I'm not even going to say clients, but people who come with problems. And the first thing I heard was, let's take care of this problem. This is a solution I need you to produce. And to me, that's such a transaction. And I think CCK has that same attitude that we're so much more relational. Yes, we're great at problem solving, but our sweet spot is building that strategy for a lifetime of business health. And that takes some time and some digging. And Sarah and Jeff, as Johnie was talking and saying a few things that, sometimes it's okay to admit that we may not be the best fit for you, but we may know someone who is. Do you have those relationships in hand where you can refer other firms to help people out if you're not the ideal fit?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, absolutely. We have several that way. And it is, it's often a challenge because we have the opportunity and you guys have the same opportunity to pick and choose who you want to work with. And you know what I have to say? Now, I'm not for everybody. I'm really not. I will give my darndest and I will try my hardest to be great for you. But if your communication's not good and we can't walk in step together, that's really important as walking in step. Like, can we travel this road together? Or are you going to run way ahead and try to solve something that I, as a pro, you hired me to do? There's so many people that don't always take our advice. And, so we refer to other people. Yeah, all the time.
Johnie, I mentioned this earlier in the introduction about how I admire the creativity that you all are gifted with. When you work on a project for a client, how does that develop? I mean, you talked about meeting with the client and hearing what they want to do and who they are. But when the teammates at Hampton Creative get together, how does that formulate? Do you just get together and start spitballing ideas and all of a sudden something hits? Or what's that secret sauce? How's that work?
Yeah, we always have a tool bag, just as you do, of different things that you can use to solve a problem. So sometimes it's kind of like, when the guys went to space and couldn't get back, they threw everything out on the table and said, here's what we got. Which of these tools is going to be useful and how can these tools work together? There is no magic bullet for anything or magic arrow, whatever. We have to look at each tool and say, which tool is the best for this client? Which one's going to be the most useful to them? But when we sit in those conversations, we're all coming from different perspectives, different ages, you come from different agencies, different backgrounds. Those things all really help, but the collaboration is beautiful. It is a beautiful thing when we can sit at a table. And, again, collaboration takes a lot of trust. It takes a whole lot of trust between all of us because not everyone's idea, again, in our own team is going to always be the best idea. But we often say, you have to lay things down at the table when you walk in and say, I'm going to throw these things out here. I'm not offended if we don't take it, but I'm going to give you what I think, judging of everything that I have sitting on the table of where the problems are to solve. These are what we think might be the best pathway for the client. And sometimes we get the client choices and say, these are the best, but here are 3 different options. And more expensive, medium expensive, less expensive, that we believe will help you get to your goal.
Yeah. And again, like Christy indicated, that's really the way we operate as well. So it's, even though we're different industries, we operate similarly. So one last question before we move to the next topic, but how do you hire for that?
Yeah.
How do you gauge individuals as far as, it's interesting to me.
Yeah. I had a client once tell me, they said, you're an amazing designer. Your team is amazing, but I think your best gift is finding people that are great to work with. And so that's always been important to us. We didn't want to just come to work every day and have that one guy or that one girl that just irritates everybody. They're really good at what they do, but they just tick everybody off. We didn't want it to be that way. We wanted to have a class of people that would be humble, be knowledgeable, and be culture fit. So those things are all really important to us. And we have that to the highest level. It hasn't always been that way, but you start realizing that oftentimes it's been said that culture eats strategy for lunch. And so you can have great strategies, but if you got someone that's just a jerk to work with, that's terrible. But we're very relational. We're in the community. We're around a lot of people. All of our people are around a lot of people, in a lot of different groups. And so there's conversations and relationships are built. We often say that relationships are God's currency. So how we get through this life is through relationships. And so finding ones that are fit for Hampton Creative have to fall within kind of our culture knowledge guideline.
Relationships are God's currency.
Totally wrote that down. I totally wrote
That's
that
an atom bomb right there.
Yes.
Wow. If you're listening, you need to be taking notes. That's just, I actually kind of got some goosebumps on that one, Johnie. Thank you. Thank you for that. So, okay, let's move into another part of the industry here real quickly before we start talking about another passion of yours, which is leadership and team development. Let's talk about the devil. Let's talk about AI. How is this reshaping your industry? And what do you see as being positive? And what do you see as being maybe less than positive?
We looked at it maybe initially as maybe a little bit of a threat, for our industry, especially creative, because you can jump on, chat, AI, whatever, and say, create me a brand for X, whatever that is, and you can have one in just a few minutes. That's part of the solve, of course, could be a good one, but it doesn't always. We say oftentimes AI and chat make a good copilot, but they don't pilot well. So for us, if I'm going to try to redesign my back patio of my house, I can jump on and have it design something beautiful, but then someone's got to carry that out. That's part of it. But with us, we feel like with AI, it helps with processes, it helps with solutions, it helps with possibilities. And then it takes a human to craft those into reality. We also say that these things are not always solutions for what we do for creative. But if I need to I just want to say, okay, I'm going to tell chat this and let it spit out some things, and it gives us ideas. I don't like to rely on those ideas because what I'm doing is everything we build on what the client has told us that is word-based. So I have to found it in something. I found it there. But AI will also, what's great about it is just the research. So it sees things that I would probably never, ever see. It knows things because it's scraping the internet everywhere. That really helps us too, because there's things that we don't know because you only have your limited knowledge of the things that you know, but it sees the whole internet, scans the whole thing. And so that, to have the whole internet at your disposal is pretty amazing for giving us some maybe perspectives we would normally have, just because our perspective is our age, it is our demographic, it's who we work with, it's who we work around, it's our socioeconomic. Those are where we form a lot of our ideas. But a couple of prompts will give us ideas that was like, okay, I hadn't even looked at that. I hadn't even thought about that perspective. So to me, it just feels like it gives us a more broad approach to how we look at branding and marketing. Is AI can see really everything that's on the internet.
It's interesting you mentioned about the back porch and patio. I'm a very late AI adopter. And we have a fireplace mantle in our living room that needs some repair. And I've said to my wife, well, we could either just repair it, or I know you've never really liked this, so we could just revamp this whole thing. And I said, I'm going to check AI about this. And she's like, what do you mean? And I took a picture of it. I uploaded it. I said, I want this, this, and this. It asked me questions. And I was like, that was great. But what I really need is the human element to go, okay, this is what I'm thinking. Now help me get from point A to point B. And just don't know if that's ever going to go away. At least I hope it doesn't. But
yeah,
it's funny how you get all that information at one time, but there is the interpretation, there is the understanding, there's the checking of the information to make sure it's reasonable.
Correct.
So it's just a whole nother aspect of all of our industries that we're dealing with. So
it's kind of like I have friends that are in medicine and they say, be very, very careful when you're using, because it will give you things like that is not true. And I've also had a friend that was writing papers for an MBA program and it didn't know. From what I understand, it can only see what was and then right in front of it. It can't see out real far. So medicine, or this project she was working on, it gave her a book that there was no author. So it put two authors together and gave her references for that. So it was like, you really have to check the facts on it because it's not always accurate. And that's very dangerous. And when you're in a professional role to give advice based on that fully, you have to do your research.
I know my husband is in the medical field and he does MRIs and he has patients come in all the time. ChatGPT told me I could do this, this, and this. And Robert's like, no, you'll die. You will die if that happens.
Be careful.
So yes, I get you.
Be so careful.
Yes.
Johnie, you mentioned earlier the power of words and these amazing AI tools that we have in place. I was talking to a teammate yesterday and we were talking about how we're capturing a client meeting. And the transcript can be so helpful because when we actually put the solution in place, the client knows that we not only heard them, but we were listening. We were listening to their history. We were listening to their current pain point. And we were listening to this objective that seems impossible for them to reach. And when we actually incorporate that, it becomes such a great tool that it builds trust. It's not just two people working together. It's really people needing people and building that trust to insert the expertise. It sounds so basic, but I believe that we've become so reliant on these efficiencies that the human element gets lost. But no, I'm with you. I believe the AI can really help us create some efficiencies so that we can care a little bit better.
Completely agree with that. Completely. I think listening is probably the biggest thing with us and our clients is we really have to hear what they're saying. Not always the words, but the tone. And also sometimes there are alerts in there. I find out my female employees are better at discernment than a lot of our male employees are. So oftentimes we'll get done with a meeting and I'll hear a report from the guys and then a report from the girls. And oftentimes they're very different. So we've learned to really listen to every team member and process what they heard because it does matter.
Yeah. Johnie, this is a good segue into getting into talking about leadership and team development. And I know one of the things that's really important to you is adaptability. And we're talking about adapting a certain way with AI. Can you talk about how adaptability is important in your agency and maybe a couple examples of ways you've had to pivot and adapt over the last few years?
Yeah, we are not the same company we were when we started 24 years ago. We've had to move, we've had crazy things that have happened. We've had major software changes. Adobe came on the scene probably year 5, and we had to go from using other design software to the whole Adobe suite. And so we're lifetime learners. That's something we all have to realize that we all, it's not like, I was telling my kids the other day that are, one's graduated and one's freshman. You learn the basics in school, in college especially, but as you get into things, you've got to adapt to methodologies, different methodologies. You've got to software, so much software, so many apps, so many things that come and go. But for us, we've had to adapt with that, definitely a lot of software. And then also just with all of the different forms of advertising now. So the client comes to us and says, what's going to win for us? I mean, I can throw out all kinds of things on the table, but trying to figure out which one and to be able to adapt to what is best for them is important because you can get to in a rut where you use the same tools all the time, but you've got to constantly be adding new tools. We also, with us, we time track everything as an agency. So when clients come to us, we have to know, especially if you're in a retainer type situation, you've got to know how many hours you've spent in that retainer to make sure that you're all eating out of the same bowl. If someone eats too much and someone eats way, way more, then there's not enough left to finish the project. So we had to have time track software so we could and we had to find stuff that was usable, but we had to adapt to that because it also helps us in our quoting process. So we know next time we do the job, I can say, well, it costs this much because I can tell you that's how much time is in the project. So adapting to that has been a big deal. I would say more personally in this year was a little tough for us because we had to move our offices. And so there was a situation in the building that we'd been in the building for a long time. We had to leave. And so within, I don't know, it was probably 72 hours, we had moved completely out of an 8,000 square foot space with computers and servers and extensive furniture and all that, and moved into a new space. And my team adapted really well to that. And it was, although it was hard for all of us, at the same time, there was this synergy that formed between us that was so incredible. And it was something, again, you can't change what happens to you. You can only respond to what happens to you in a positive way. And so our team responded in such a positive way. But that goes back to no one had an ego. No one expressed ugly attitudes. We were in it together. The humility that happened, bringing, coffees to everyone and having pizza one day really helped our team adapt really, really well. And I'll say this, some of our clients, like for instance, some of our theme park clients, the adaptability with them has been in what it looked like to take a brand that was really, really old, realize that it had been celebrated for 50 or more years, and realize, this is dated. We need to adapt to where your audience is now. We need to create spaces inside the parks that allow them to help tell your story, because a younger generation is us too. Love selfies. We love celebrating where we are. We don't mind, hey, I'm at this place. I'm at this concert. I'm at this, here's me and this whale. Here's me and an elephant. We love that, but we have to make spaces for that in our design to say, hey, when we go through things, we need to pause for a moment and enjoy where we are, take a photo with our family, enjoy those moments. So adapting to those things is not just always me going to a situation and consuming, it's consuming with others and being able to share that with other people.
Johnie, have you ever seen the Saturday Night Live skit where Chris Farley was at SeaWorld and he always got splashed by the whale?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's so great.
It's a great classic skit. So yeah. Okay. So I'm a business owner and I'm listening to this, and I've already gotten some great wisdom and insight related to branding and marketing my company. But I really want to know more about how I can take care of my people. I've learned about how to adapt from some of your words, but I really want to care for my people. And I know this is a real passion of yours. I've heard you talk about stewarding talent and being a light to your teammates' families. Let's talk a little bit about that. Share your passion about that. What makes Hampton Creative different in that arena as well?
I'm crazy loyal, and I like people to be crazy loyal to me. That's why when a client leaves, it's hard because we personally get involved with them and their lives. But with employees, it's a little bit different because we're in the trenches together every day. We see each other in our best and our worst. We all are trying to solve problems together, but we all have families. We have things that don't go right at home. We have to walk in with that. So I think me and my wife's kind of our take on our employees was understanding they wouldn't be with us forever. I mean, I have some employees that have been here. I have one employee who's been here 20 of the 24 years. He's a star student for sure. But there are others that have come and been here for a little bit, contributed and moved on. We wanted Hampton to be a place of peacefulness. We wanted to be a place where they knew that they were cared for. They were stewarded well. We were looking at their talents because you have job descriptions for everybody, but then everyone always brings something that's a little bit different to that job description that is not replaceable by someone who might come in that role later. So we celebrate that. We have things like first of the month, we have a thing called It's Not My First Rodeo. It's a little trophy that we give one employee. And that's someone who has done outstanding work in the previous month. And we celebrate birthdays. We celebrate anniversaries. We celebrate their spouses' anniversaries. We do special things for their children on their birthdays. We just want them to know, if you want an employee to stay, you do whatever it takes to make sure that it's not just a comfortable place to work and a decent salary and benefits. It's also those intangibles that make people say, I don't want to leave here. I don't ever want to leave here. And the last important thing is snacks. We have a very nice snack bar with all kinds of amazing variety of snacks and soda drinks and all the Waterloos and all whatever, fill in the blank. But that's a great thing too, because it's just, afternoon, a little bit of weakness. Hey, I'm going to go grab this. And there's just there's a joy to that I think our team feels, and it keeps us moving forward with our people.
What's the size of your agency currently, Johnie?
We're 13 people.
13 people.
13.
Okay.
And we've been as high as 15, but 13 feels like a really good spot right now.
One of the things I thought I heard you say, so you correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard you say me and my wife, and you referred to our employees.
Yeah.
Is your wife involved in the company, or is that just the way it's transcended through your family, that your family appreciates your teammates as well? Explain that.
Yeah, pretty amazing. You know, when we started the company, our kids were really young. So she chose to leave her career as a basketball coach and a school teacher to stay home with our children. But when we started the company, we realized that her part to play in this was maybe not a daily active role, although she comes here a lot and she's the one that's the chief celebration officer. So she's the CCO. So she comes in and does all of the parties and the gatherings and things like that. But she also is the one, when I come home at the end of the day, I'm sharing, you know, what happened and people's individual stories. And she's the one that prays for our people all the time. We all pray, but she's real sensitive toward those kinds of things. And people matter to both of us. We're both extroverts. We love people. And so that's her part to play in that has been really, really important for me as a CEO to run things past her as someone, again, who is very discerning and, again, loves people.
I'm going to step out on a limb here, but it's something that I heard years and years ago that I have never forgotten. And I was doing some executive coaching, and my coach always referred to his wife as God's sexy voice because of those reasons, that the discernment, and and you referenced it earlier by talking to your male and female teammates. We're just wired different, and we could get so far into something and just completely miss something. And it's usually our spouse that kind of, from our perspective, that helps. And that's amazing. So Johnie, as we start to kind of wrap this up a little bit, I want to talk about mentoring, because previously you mentioned that you had a very influential mentor in your life. How does mentoring play a role at Hampton Creative, and how are you carrying out that, not really a tradition, but that concept?
You know, as we age, we talk a lot about giving away what we know, because you get to the point. I mean, we've seen the progressive commercials and the older people I laugh so hard at those things because I find myself doing some of those things, you know, trying to help people out. And, you know, they call the name. It's like, John, your coffee. It's like, why are you telling? They've already said that, you know. Those commercials, I can probably live out most of those, because as you get older, your heart is to really help those around you. And if it means stopping on the side road to help someone change a tire, or if it means helping them find their drink, or telling them in the grocery store where, you know, their brand of mustard is, you know, you kind of are that way. But we tried to back up a little bit at Hampton and put that in our core values, is that it would be something that we would always be looking for young up and comings, whether they're an employee or not. But just, we see people, because there were people that saw me earlier in my career and mentored me hardcore. And at that time, we weren't using the word mentor. It was just, you know, someone that just was helping, I guess. But now it's become such a strong word that is deeply meaningful. But for all of us, we speak on college campuses, we speak in classes, we speak on our expertise. Many students are looking for, what does it look like on the other side of my degree? Like, how can I do this successfully? What are the things I need to know? You know, where would be my blind spots? They ask amazing questions, and they're all really looking for mentors. So we are on college campuses a lot doing that. It's important that we find a group of people that we can invest what we know into. And we have internships and things like that. Those are definitely, we do job shadows with high school kids as well. But I think the personal side of that is finding some students. I have a couple of students that I was mentoring at ORU, some of their entrepreneurship classes. And so, I mean, it was cool this week to find one of them called me and say, hey, I started my business, a car detailing business. He came and detailed my car. He did a phenomenal job. But I love the fact that we can go from idea to actually fulfilling that. But it also takes a cheerleader somewhere. We need to be cheerleaders for people around us who are doing their best to try to make something of their lives. And all it takes is just one or two words from someone that all of us are experts. You know, one word to a student that says you can do this, or here's something that you might need to know, can change the whole course of their lives. But if we just go through running through things and not really paying attention, we're going to miss out on amazing opportunities. Because I'll tell you something, some of those students that I mentored have come here and been employees.
Nice.
So you never know when that's going to happen. And you might be laying a road for yourself later down the road. You might be giving yourself a gift if you would take a moment and look around you who you can invest in.
Those are several nuggets there that are just beautiful. I have a final question to ask Johnie, but I know, we're doing this on Teams, and Christy, I can just see you smiling and taking notes, and Sarah, same thing. Is there anything as we start to wrap up, Christy, that you want? Yeah, I see your hand. Go for it, girl. Is there something you want to ask?
Yeah, Johnie, you've hit it. I think you've already answered it, but I would love to hear it in the form of an answer to this question. You've talked about the what you guys do, what you do personally. You've talked a little bit about the how you get to the strategy, how you identify the target audience and create an effective communication to meet the objective. The most important question of all time: what's your why behind all of this? Not just in Hampton Creative, but what's Johnie? What's your why?
Yeah, that gets real personal, Christy, and it's one of those that I try to share with my life and less about my words, more with my actions. But at the end of the day, my hope and my heart is that through the work that we do, through the words we do give to people, through how we respond in kindness, that somehow people are pointed to, again, we're creatives. There is but one creator. We want to point people to him. And so whether that means, gosh, your work was great. How did you come up with that idea? Let me tell you, I came up with that idea. We spent 12 weeks praying over what was the best option for you. We don't always know everything, but we know the one who does know everything. And we invite him into our conversations about our work. And so that to me that's my why. It's what gets me up every day, because there's lots of activities I can do. If it means, I'm meeting with my lawn guy, my lawn guy and I have lots of conversation. My neighbor and I have lots of conversation. My job is always to be light wherever I am. Doesn't matter whether it's at work or am I in the grocery store, I'm at Quick Trip. It doesn't matter. But that's my why.
Thanks, Johnie.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Sarah, did you have something there?
I didn't have any questions, but I just circling back to at the beginning, Jeff, when you made the comment of, we're in such different spaces, accounting versus marketing and branding. It's not so different. It really isn't. Everything that Johnie said, I'm like, oh, we do that. We do that. We do that. Just almost everything that you said was like, there is a connection there. And at the end of the day, I think it's all about serving others and letting his light shine through us. I think that is basically what it boils down to.
God gives us these career paths for a reason. Whether, I was studying accounting when I was in school, but I'm like, why am I studying accounting? I'm really creative. But now they both work together because I have to be a CEO and I have to be a creative. But God gives us our careers not just so that we can make money. He gives it so we can also use those careers to reach people. And that's my heart, has been for years.
Johnie, I almost had an emotional breakdown with your last diatribe there because, and I'm going to try and say this as emotionally free as possible. That executive coaching that I did years ago, 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago, the most beneficial thing that I came out of that coaching was a series of self-affirmations that I wrote. Yeah. And one of them literally is, I may not know everything, but I know the God who created everything, and he will help me figure out a way through the things that I do not know. And that's exactly what you said. And I was just like, wow, that's something else.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a pretty simple God with a lot of the same pathways for us. And if we can tap into it, man, it's life-changing, not just for us, but for the people around us. And that's always my heart.
All right. Last question, Johnie, business-wise. I've heard you say, I really like this quote, and I'd like you to kind of expand on it just a little bit before we finish up. But I believe I've heard you say before, if we get better, our clients will get bigger. And that really touched me. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, first of all, that came from Chuck Cathy, and it was on our wall at our office for a long, long time, because process is important. If we're all equals, same way with you guys, if all firms are equal, who's going to rise to the top? It's going to be the one whose process is the most enjoyable, because we realize there are a lot of agencies that do great work, but we want to be the funnest. We want to be the most educated, and we want the process to be enjoyable. But if we focus on that, then our clients will demand that we offer more services. They're going to give us more work because we've really honed in on our process. And Chick-fil-A has done a phenomenal job of that, of really refining their processes, getting through drive-through lines easily, of just being kind, for goodness sakes, and being excited that you're at their store. It's basic stuff that we can do that we're really demanding that our clients ask us to grow and do more.
Good words. Good words. All right, Johnie. If someone is listening to this podcast and they're a business owner and they want to connect with you in a more professional way or a more personal way, or we've got a student that's listening or someone new to the business world and they want to I know you'd love to talk to them. Can you provide a way to connect with you?
Sure. I always give out my personal email, and it's Johnie, JOHNIE @hamptoncreative.com. Or they can have my cell number. My cell is 918-808-3314. And I would love to talk. We're always looking for new clients. I think sometimes when you have a measure of success, people think that you're just full, and we are not full. There's always room for more. We want to grow too. We'd love to get maybe to 20 or 25 people. We don't mind growth, but we would love to have a conversation about what is your story? Let's tell us. We have to know your story before we can tell it, but we'd love to know it. So please reach out anytime.
All right. Cool. All right. As we close, Johnie, we have a tradition on this podcast that we didn't tell you about, but it's fun. And so, Sarah, we will now transition to
rapid fire.
Okay.
Series of questions, Johnie, just to get to know you a little bit better.
Okay,
These are not overwhelming, but who or what is your greatest branding champion? When you think of brands, who has done it?
Man, there's like 50 answers in that one. I go back to Nike just because I've been an avid follower of theirs for so many years. They're one of my favorite. I wear their shoes. I run in their shoes. I work out in their shoes and wear their clothing, all that. I just feel like they've done it well, and they've done really good with messaging. The messaging's always been very, very strong, and it hit me in my heart, especially training for things.
Yeah, cool. Okay, without offending any client that's out there, obviously you're not sharing who those are, but what is your favorite park and favorite ride nationally?
Oh man. Well, I would go with Dollywood. Dollywood's at the top of the leaderboard, and they have a ride there called, I think it's called Bear Country, but it is the funnest, simplest, most just simple ride built right there into the side of the mountain. But love their people, love their cinnamon bread. Great place. Love it.
Have to go sometime. Okay. You're on a deserted island. What's the one musical release that you take with you?
Oh man. Well, one. It would be Elevation. They're my favorite. They're in my car. Anything Elevation Worship's in my car all the time.
Nice.
Cool. Sweet or salty?
Sweet. 10 out of 10.
And lastly, coming out of the holidays, this is very timely. What's your favorite family holiday tradition?
Oh man, we get together as a family and play games. And so it's all kinds of different minute to win it games. We play bingo, all of these things we do together as a family. And there's music on, there's snacks on the table. Everyone's laughing. It's just we've done it every year, and it's just a joy to have our family in our home.
And that will only grow as your kids grow and have families, and that's amazing. So, well, Johnie, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us. I know there's a lot of truth bombs in that last hour, and we just really appreciate it. Sarah, do you want to invite our listeners to email us?
Yes. If you have any questions for us or any ideas on future podcasts, please reach out to us at podcast@cckcpa.com.
And do we want to at least note the contest one last time?
Yes. So in our last episode, we had a contest running, and as of yet, we have not received an email. So if you are one of the first to email us, we have a signed tumbler for you. So please reach out to us, send us an email, and we'll get that tumbler out to you if you're the first.
And you can't be a previous winner or a CCK teammate.
Right.
There's a lot of caveats to it. But
that's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today. As always, we want to go through our list of thank yous. Thank you to CCK for allowing us this opportunity to use this medium. To KP, thank you as always for keeping us on the straight and narrow with the brand. To Robert Mays, thank you for your intro and outro music. Clarence Fisher with Tulsa Internet Marketing Services for helping us get this podcast across the goal line. And Emily Johansson for all your behind the scenes work. And finally, again, Johnie Hampton, thank you for joining us today. Amazing conversation, and we just appreciate it so much. So with that, we'll wrap up. We hope that you join us next time when these two CPAs get together to chat and you get to find out who's on the mic.
The information provided on this podcast is for general informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute accounting, tax, legal, or financial advice. While we strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information, laws and regulations change and individual circumstances vary. Always consult with a qualified CPA or professional advisor before making any financial or business decisions. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any organizations they are affiliated with. Listening to this podcast does not create a client-accountant relationship. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge and agree to those terms. And that's a wrap for this episode of Two CPAs and the Mic. If you found today's episode helpful, please subscribe, share, and leave us a review. Have questions or ideas for a topic? Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Email us at podcast@cckcpa.com.